Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Dawson, and I work at the Villa of Hope. And we are bringing our program to you so that we can complete the Too Good for Drugs program that you guys were going to do with us in the classroom.
And my name is Amy, and I also work at the Villa of Hope with Miss Stephanie.
Yeah, so what we're going to do today is, because we can't see you guys in person, is we're going to bring the first lesson of our Too Good for Drugs program to you through Zoom, coming into your houses, so we can still get it done and still get this information out to you. So Miss Amy made an amazing PowerPoint. We're going to go through it. You guys can, as we're going through, look at what we're talking about. And at the end, we have our email addresses. We would love it if you guys have any questions or just want to talk about anything. Feel free to email us, okay?
So here are a few topics that we're going to be going over with you. We're going to be talking more about addiction and what that looks like. We're going to be talking about peer pressure, safety plans for our feelings. We're going to be going into different kind of drugs. And then we're also going to be talking about how the media influences you at your young age. And then at the very end, we will be playing Jeopardy trivia.
Yay! Normally we give out candy, but maybe when we do that, you guys can go into the kitchen and get some candy and pretend we gave it to you. So this is going to be really different and not the first way we wanted to meet people, but we are doing our best and getting it out there. So why do we do drug prevention in 6th grade? Miss Amy, why? Why do we go to 6th grade?
Let me think about that. Well, things could be different. You could be maybe the youngest grade in your school, right? You could be now around older kids, older students, and seeing different things happening.
Yeah, definitely. And, the reason we look at 6th grade is because we do know, and we have a question for you guys, so be ready for this. What age do you think is the average age kids start experimenting? So we could cue up like the Jeopardy music right here, like do, 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 do. But what do you think is the average age? And when we look at our answer, it's very relevant to the age you guys are. 12 years old is the average age that kids start experimenting. So one of the reasons we find it so important to go into 6th grade is because we know that you're at that point in life where maybe you've been around it, maybe you know family members that are doing it. We're going to talk about media, maybe it's all around you, maybe even at school you were seeing it. So by 12 years old, we know that kids are around it, they've seen it, and they may have started to, be offered it, be peer pressured. So 12 years old is that age. So it's a great age for us to come in and be able to start talking with you guys openly about it.
Yes. And also, why do you think people start to experiment with drugs and alcohol? And we do have another question for you, particularly for your age. So why do you think kids your age start to experiment with drugs? And out of all the reasons here listed, we have don't want to feel stressed out, or maybe they're feeling depressed. Maybe their parents do it at home. Maybe they smoke cigarettes. They think it's okay. Maybe they're curious. They just want to know what it's like. Or maybe they gave into peer pressure. So out of all those answers listed, there is a number one reason kids your age would experiment. Miss Stephanie, what do you think it is?
Should I give it away right away? Well, let's hope that you guys already took a guess. And I'm going to go with curiosity, Miss Amy.
That is correct.
That
Curiosity.
is correct. So why we say curiosity is going again to your age group, right? You guys may have been around people, seen it in media. You're hearing all this stuff about vaping. Maybe you've even seen someone over your house. Maybe your parents had a party, who knows, right? And you've seen someone drunk and acting silly. And there's that part of you that's curious and wonders, what's it like? And it's okay to be curious, okay? But we do know that curiosity is one of the number one reasons why kids your age will first experiment or try it when somebody offers it to them. So part of our prevention is to be able to give you that knowledge and educate you so you can combat that curiosity with some facts and knowing the truth about it.
Good. So let's take a look at things that we can be addicted to these days, okay? So we have things like video games, maybe electronics, your cell phone you could be addicted to, drugs and alcohol, cigarettes, nicotine and vaping, and also spending money maybe on gambling.
Hmm.
Stephanie, what does addiction look like?
So great question. And this is something that when we ask you guys, we get really good answers, right? So when we ask someone, what is addiction? Okay, addiction is when someone has a problem, right? The drinking or using some sort of drug is causing problems in their life. A lot of kids will say they can't stop, right? They're doing it all the time. They're sneaking around. And these are really great indicators of someone who has an addiction, is maybe they've tried to stop before, they can't stop, they use regularly, they use a lot of the drug. And so this is how you would know that someone has a problem. Okay, and you guys may have some other ways that you would describe it as well. Awesome. All right, want to move on? Okay, good one, Miss Amy. What's a social drinker versus an alcoholic? And I think this is so important to know because not everyone who has a drink has a problem, or you don't have to be worried about mom or dad if they have a glass of wine with dinner once in a while. So there's such a thing called a social drinker, somebody who would drink on occasions or maybe at a family party or a gathering, and maybe they have one drink. They can control it. Okay, they don't hide their drinking, they don't have problems because of it, and it's usually done at a minimal amount and in a social setting. Okay, do you want to compare that to alcoholic, how that might be, Miss Amy?
Yeah, so an alcoholic, you maybe when you stop and see them, or if you're living with someone who drinks on occasion, more on occasion, they're drinking every day. Every time you see them, they have a drink in their hand. Maybe they go out with friends and they're thinking, okay, I'm going to go out for one drink. But what ends up happening is they might have more than one drink. Okay. And if they are developing problems at home, they can be sneaking around, hiding their drinks so no one knows that they're doing it.
Awesome. And a lot of times, this is when we ask the question, how many of us know or love someone that may have a drinking problem or a drug problem or even vaping or nicotine, right? Because a lot of times when we're talking about sensitive stuff like this, we may know or care for someone who's struggling with this because we know that alcoholism and addiction affects a lot of people, okay? So we also know that it's addiction is difficult to battle. Not that people can't get help, they certainly can, but it is difficult.
Okay, so let's jump into social media and advertisements. So if you think about a minute, what advertisements have you seen that would be geared towards more like smoking or drinking ads? Now, I know the big thing with your age group is Snapchat. So are there ads on the Snapchat apps?
Yeah, and maybe you guys could write these down because I think you'll in some way be responding to your teachers. So you can kind of, think about it, write down. Sometimes there's alcohol ads where everybody looks like they're having a blast on the beach and it's a big party, or you've seen vaping, maybe YouTube videos where they're blowing out the smokes, kind of things. So what are some of the things that it's around you, and start to be aware of what kind of advertising have you seen about drugs or alcohol or substance or vaping? And where are you seeing them? I like that too, right?
Yes. And then we also have to think about what is the main goal of advertising? What do you think?
Hmm. So I think the main goal of advertising is to get people to buy stuff even if they don't need it, right? And to put it out there and get people interested and work on our curiosity a little bit. And when we get later in our program with you guys, we're going to talk a lot about vaping and how advertising has gotten a lot of young kids addicted to vaping. And that was their whole purpose, is to advertise and get kids interested and play on that curiosity a little bit.
So let's take a look at a few different advertisements that I found online, but they look like they were in a magazine ad. Let me see if I can go ahead and move this over. So just taking a look at this one, this is for Newport Pleasure, some cigarettes. Do you think the media and advertising companies influence people to drink or use drugs? And how is that possible just from a picture?
Definitely. Something that we really want you guys to think about. And maybe over the next couple days after our lesson today, start to be aware of what kind of media you're seeing, what kind of commercials when you're on Snapchat, and be aware of how it gets in your brain and what it's making you think of. And if a day or two later, it's still kind of stuck in there, be a really interesting kind of experiment. So I know Miss Amy has another couple pictures, and if you look at the coloring, all the smiling faces, and Miss Amy does this advertising so much better, so I'll let her talk about it, but really look at some of these advertisements.
Yeah, that's perfect. So what are they selling? Over to the right, there's another pack of cigarettes, Camel brand. And we always like to point out the colors they're using. They're nice colors. It's a cartoon. They're camels. And we all know camels don't dress in nice fancy suits. They look like they're part of a band. Some of them are standing in cool stances, but they all have a cigarette in their mouth. That's what they're selling, is the cigarettes, not this cool looking cartoon band, right?
Yes.
We have to take a look at who are they targeting? Adults like us? Probably not so much if they're using all these fun colors, cartoonish looking graphics. And then if you look over here down to the left-hand side in the Bud Light, the beer ad, we have, are we having Bud Light yet? We all know that slogan, are we having fun yet, right? So this is how marketing works. They're using good looking people. They look like they're having the best time of their life, but they're selling beer.
Mm-hmm.
Start thinking, like Miss Stephanie said, start thinking about, oh, well, does fun equal mean drinking beer? These are the thoughts. This is how they start to manipulate you at your young age.
And look at that message. Bud Light is fun. So drinking is fun, and that's the way to have fun, right? And smoking is fun, and vaping. So, when we talk about this a little bit, we also ask kids, if you guys remember when you were younger, the little candy cigarettes and the little wax bottles that had liquid in it. And we make you kind of think about like, oh yeah, I used to take that cigarette and put it up and pretend. These are all things that kind of get kids acting that way and interested in it and curious. And there's so many different ways that media gets you manipulated into thinking this is the way to be cool, or these are the things I need to do when I'm a grown up. So start to pay attention to that and how it might affect you and how it plays on that curiosity that we know kids your age have.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Good review. So addiction can happen to anyone, any age. The youngest person we've had at the Villa was 9 years old. And just for a little recap of what Miss Amy and I do at the Villa of Hope, and if you guys have heard of it, we're an agency that helps kids and families that have behavioral problems, that have family problems. But what Miss Amy and I do is we work in the addiction field. So kids that are in outpatient treatment or that live with us residentially, and they come to learn how to live again without using drugs and alcohol. So how to get sober, okay, right? How to combat their addiction. And it can happen to anyone, any age. So that's really important to know, right? Because I think a lot of us don't really think that. They think it's not going to happen to me, or I'm too young, or I'm just vaping a little bit, or I got this, or my parents do it and they seem to be okay. So there's a lot of different things we tell ourselves, right? Do you want to talk about the next one, Miss Amy?
Oh, sure. So just to recap, we want to make sure you understand why we go into sixth grade classes. The average age when kids start to experiment is your age. It's 12 years old. And then to remember, the number one reason why kids would experiment is because you're curious. And so this is why we go over the facts and the knowledge so you can make better choices, so we can take that curiosity out. And then also just remember the differences between what a social drinker is and someone who might have an alcohol problem. Not everyone that has a drink is an alcoholic.
Awesome. I love that. And again, advertising is so important, and we want you guys to be aware of it, because when we get into vaping and cigarette companies, they make a lot of money off getting people addicted. And if they start you at a younger age, your chances of becoming addicted are much higher. Okay. The younger you start using a substance, the higher your chance of becoming addicted. Okay. So the other thing is we want you to think about any questions, or maybe there's a concern you have or something you want to learn in our time together, because we're going to do 4 to 5 weeks of this depending on how much we can get out to you guys. And we want to know if there's something that you want to learn as well. So we're here for you, or if there's something upsetting you or bothering you or something in your own life. And Miss Aimee and I would be happy to respond to that. So we hope everybody's doing well. And there was some sunshine today, and we hope you're doing great. And if we get back to school, maybe we get to meet you.
It was so good to do this for you, and we hope to make more videos. Bye.